My name is Robert Jones, and I'm here speaking about my father, Sergeant Major Gilmer L. Jones, who served in the Navy during World War II and then later in the Army. He retired from the Army. My father got married on December 6, 1941, and woke up the next morning to find that we were at war with the Japanese. So he immediately enlisted in the Navy. He was a ship's fitter. He was a qualified hard hat diver. He served at the invasion of North Africa. He served at the invasion of Sicily. He went ashore as infantry in Sicily. He participated in an Army combat engineer team with some of Patton's troops. He then was assigned to a minesweeper out of Naples. He cleared mines for the invasion of Anzio, and after the invasion of southern France, he was assigned to the USS Franklin aircraft carrier CV-13, which was out of Seattle. Transportation could not get him to that ship in time, so he actually had to catch up with the ship while it was in combat off of Okinawa and was on board when it was kamikazed. And he was one of the survivors of the attack and helped bring the ship back to the Brooklyn Navy Yard for refitting, and the war ended before the ship repairs were completed. He came back to LG Laterno in Toccoa, Georgia, and he tried to open up his own welding metal shop there. That proved difficult, so he was recruited into the Army, and he went to the Atlanta General Depot, which later became Fort Gillem. He taught welding and metallurgy there. An officer from Atlanta Public Schools, ROTC detachment, came to Fort Gillem looking for good instructors, and they all pointed him to my father. So they recruited him into ROTC at the Atlanta Public Schools. He had to change his military occupational specialty from engineer corps to infantry, which he maintained until he retired. He was very successful at the ROTC program, and the city of Atlanta would request him to be extended. Finally, the Army said, "You've got to go somewhere," so he was given his choice of assignments, and we selected Austria. We were in Austria for less than a year, and it was given its independence. We were transferred then to Mannheim, Germany, and from Mannheim, we were stationed in Vicenza, Italy. My mother died when we were in Italy, and because the Atlanta Public Schools had requested him back, and because my father's parents and family were in this area, he also applied for a compassionate reassignment, so we came back to Atlanta. When I graduated from artillery OCS and was home on leave, my father asked me to go with him to Fort McPherson to find out that he was retiring that day. So he retired, took the rest of the afternoon off, and the next day he reported in as the detachment sergeant major as an employee of the Atlanta Public Schools, and then he retired there some years later. I've forgotten the exact date he retired from the Atlanta Public Schools. And he enjoyed working with students, and the students loved him, and he helped a number of them get accepted to, like, the Air Force Academy, the Military Academy, and other schools that offered ROTC scholarships. I think my fondest memories are some of the stories my father told when he was in the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC. It was during the Depression. Times were tough, and part of his pay went back to his family so that they could have cash. My father was kind of an entrepreneur, and with his extra cash, if someone left the CCCs, my father would buy his Foot Locker and the content, and then he would sell things to other CCC people, like if they need cigarettes or toothpaste or something like that. He was assigned at one point to run a train back and forth across the country, picking up CCC new recruits, dropping them off at different places. And there was no food facilities on the train, so my father arranged at one of the stations to have fresh bread and bologna and mayonnaise delivered there. He bought that. He made sandwiches and sold sandwiches on the train. When he was in the Navy, he volunteered for an assignment, and they raided fascist headquarters in Palermo. This is while fighting is still going on. And they found a cache of military payment certificates. They did not look like the military payment certificates that they were currently using. So to him, they were just kind of like play money, and he just stuffed a bunch of them in his pocket. Several months later, after Sicily was secured, the Army changed the military payment certificates, and it turned out that my father had pockets full of the new certificates that were being issued. So he used that money to buy cigarettes from people who did not smoke, and then he used that to buy wine and beer from the Italians and sold it to the service clubs in Sicily. When he got to Naples, he used some of his money to bribe a guard at a depot where they had captured German trucks and equipment, and he got himself a BMW motorcycle and sidecar. He would go out to where the infantry units would come back for R&R, and he would buy things like helmets, pistols, bayonets, cameras, and he would sell them to the guys back in Naples who were in the Navy, because they never got access to that sort of thing. So my father was an entrepreneur, and he started a couple of companies on his own even after he was in the service. I think my father would want current students to know that if you work hard and you treat people well, you can do well. He was that kind of person. He worked very hard at learning new things to excel, and he genuinely had an interest in seeing the students that he came in contact with do well themselves, to do their best. The most important thing my father taught me was to be an adult, to be responsible for my own actions, to be able to take care of myself, and to try not to exploit other people.